All right, we want to head to Israel on the ground. I just want to reiterate, this is a huge moment in that President Donald Trump has authorized and the U.S. military has just pulled off strikes inside Iran at 3 different nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. The word coming from President Trump's Truth Social that the bombers were outside of Iranian airspace, that the payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. As you look at the map there, I want to go live on the ground to Trey Yingst, chief foreign correspondent, about reaction there on the ground, what the Israelis are saying, plus what you think this fallout may be.
Yeah, Brett, good evening. This has been the talk of Israel for the past several days as the country waited to see if the Americans would get directly involved in the conflict. And even up in the last few hours, I was talking with current and former sources, trying to get an understanding of when this might happen. And at 1:55 local time, one source said, rumors, Trump gave the word, supposed to be happening now. We were working on tracking it down, and the president taking to Truth Social to say the Americans did indeed strike 3 separate Iranian nuclear facilities, including the Fordow nuclear facility deep underground outside of the Iranian capital of Tehran. The bottom line here is that people are talking about enrichment. They understand that this decision was made because the Iranians were increasing their uranium enrichment capabilities and increasing the purity closer and closer to weapons-grade material. And the concern was that the Iranian regime was just weeks away from being able to build a nuclear bomb. We've seen over the past 9 days, the country has the ability to strike major population centers here in Israel with ballistic missiles. So you can imagine that having a nuclear warhead that could ultimately be attached to a ballistic missile would clearly be a direct threat to the Jewish state. And that was why the Israelis said that they made the decision to start these strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities and against top IRGC officials. And clearly tonight, President Trump ordering these strikes against the Iranian regime's nuclear program because there was no off-ramp for diplomacy at this point. There was that 60-day window that President Trump gave the Iranians to come to the table, 5 rounds of conversations, most of them taking place in Oman, with Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East envoy, other top American officials meeting directly and indirectly with their Iranian counterparts, but the Iranians did not want to finish a deal. And ultimately, the decision was made by Israel to launch this operation that has led to a war developing between the 2 countries. And then again, tonight, the Americans getting directly involved, launching these strikes with those bombers over Iranian territory. We will certainly learn more information as daylight comes tomorrow in the region. But the bottom line here is that a decision was made that will change the reality of the current war between Israel and Iran and possibly create a scenario where the Iranians really have no other option than to give in, because the president has hit them so hard with these strikes, and the Israelis are continuing to take out their top military leadership, that the country is in a state of disarray. And so the bottom line here is that these strikes tonight show not only solidarity with the American ally in the Middle East, Israel, but also they show that the region is at a crossroads here. There are clear decisions that will have to be made by the regime officials that are still alive and by the country's supreme leader and the country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian. And so certainly more hours ahead, we'll learn that information. But again, the bottom line tonight is that the decision was made by President Trump to take out, in effect, these nuclear facilities that the Iranians were using to enrich uranium closer and closer to weapons-grade material. You might remember back during the nuclear deal that President Trump pulled out of in 2018, the Iranians were enriching uranium at 3.67%. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, they were enriching uranium close to 60% purity, getting very, very close to a weapons-grade purity, which would give them the component that they would need to create a nuclear weapon. And so this is a historic moment in the Middle East tonight, and again, an opportunity for the region, as the president laid out in his statement, for peace in the future, because this is a region that understands peace through strength. Brett.
Yes, that's definitely true. Trey, stand by.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.